Greetings and welcome back to WebbedNostalgia, starring Another Geek 123, and today Shadow VA and I are going to look back into Skins UK, the show about different generations of teens growing up in Bristol from the year 2007 all the way to 2013. Today we'll be looking into Season 3, which introduces us to the second generation of the show. If you have not yet watched our first part and second part talking about Series 1 and 2, which includes the first generation, please do, it would mean a lot. Following getting into the episodes, once again like the first two seasons of the show, each episode of a season focuses on a character in the generation. However, this is the first episode to be focused on everyone in the generation that isn't actually a finale. Anyway, this episode starts off with Freddie skateboarding through Bristol and meeting up with his best friends Cook and JJ. We very much see Freddie as more of the serious hipster type, while Cook is very hyped up type chav in the UK. Then we have JJ that's a bit of both, being quite weird and nerdy. However, everything changed when we meet Effie, with both Freddie and JJ quite smitten by her. We then cut to meeting the identical twin sisters Katie and Emily, who get prepared for their first day at college. We see that Katie walks all over Emily, taking all the stuff including the hot water and the help. Then once they're at college, Effie and Katie start to talk with each other, while we find out Pandora, who we met in Season 2, tells Effie she wants to lose her virginity as soon as possible. We also find out that the college has issued a number of rules due to the last generation's bad behaviour. While this happens, we then see Cook trying to charm Naomi, who is next to him, but he ends up winding her up. However, Naomi ends up grassing on Cook up in front of everyone in the year and including the head, saying he wants to show her his inappropriate tattoo, which, well, results in the teacher using their read the note in front of the class trick on him, but Cook just ends up flashing his real inappropriate tattoo in front of the whole year. Later, after everyone is out of assembly and Cook gets a warning from the head, everyone is in the halls getting to know each other. Effie then gives a challenge to Freddie, JJ and Cook to break 7 of the school rules, saying if the first person does it by the end of the day, they can get to know her better. Then we have a bit of time where Katie warns Effie about Naomi, who believes she is a lesbian, saying she jumped Emily in primary school. Then finally we see Cook breaking all the rules and, well, he ends up shagging Effie in the nurse's office, as you do.
Episode 2 focuses on Cook mainly, and really shows his true nature. It's his birthday, and Cook is set up to have an absolute mad sesh. So he invites those from college, such as Effie, Pandora, Emily, Katie, Naomi, and his best friends, Freddie and JJ. They end up at the pub, where Cook talks to Keith, who's a bit of a mad bastard. He gets some drugs off him, and orders some drinks. They end up talking for a bit, and isn't exactly as great as they expected when they get wind of Freddie's sister's friend's engagement party. So, thinking it's going to be a lot better than sitting in a bland pub doing fuck all, they decide to go. Well, Cook drags them there, to the unamusement of Freddie. They eventually get in after mentioning that they've got some drugs on them, so they all go into the bathroom to take some, when Pandora literally eats it all, leaving the rest of the gang with only a tiny bit. They take what little there is left, and Cook tries it on with Kaylee, who then suggests that she may reciprocate if he gets the drugs. To which he orders some more, she declines after taking them, and then Cook decides to get a bit rowdy. As Johnny White threatened him before, he ends up singing and being a bit hands-on with some of the guests. This angers Johnny. Cook gets beaten up and thrown off a balcony, which starts a fight with the rival gangs though. The gang escapes, with Freddie incredibly frustrated with Cook, and telling him that they're sick of his antics. JJ and Cook go to a brothel, where Johnny White is there, tied up. Quite a twist. Cook punches him, and then shocks him when he's provoked, leaving Johnny White saying that he'll kill Cook next time he sees him.
Episode 3 overall focuses on Thomas, and it's probably my favourite episode in the season. It starts off with Thomas living alone in the UK after moving from Congo, and his family is due to join him in a few days. Due not to be able to afford a house, while being expected to by his mum, he finds an abandoned flat on the estate, but it is owned by the hard man Johnny White. Yeah, that one. And well, he now tells Thomas he owes him money for living there, while drowning a Bombay bad boy, pot noodle, the hottest thing in the UK. Thomas then meets Pandora and Effie at a bus stop. Then after Pandora literally vomits, they then head back to Effie's and casually discover that Mrs. Stoneham is having an affair with Mr. Stoneham's co-worker. Oh, and by the way, the couple are married in real life. We also then see Thomas find work at Roundville College as a janitor after casually trying to jump on a construction van for work. Once Thomas is working, he then bumps into Pandora again, and she invites him to have the famous British tea and scones at her aunt's. However, when they get there, he then realises that it isn't actually British sweet tea, and that it is sweet marijuana, and offers the aunt to sell it out to get money a lot easier for him. The whole gang later help Thomas sell weed at a party, but the venue then of course is owned by Big Boy Johnny. The gang literally escape him, but the big man and his crew literally turn up, and he also notices Cook is there as well. Thomas then calls out the skinny gimp to a fight at his home. However, when they finally get to Johnny's house, he pussies out and purposes a challenge in who can eat the more spicy chilies without flinching. Thomas the man himself wins because he grew up eating them. The gang then celebrate at Thomas's flat to celebrate, but Thomas's family arrive early, and well, the party gets shut down with Thomas being sent back to his hometown. The episode then ends on a shot of Pandora crying to her aunt.
Episode 4 starts off with Effie and Pandora waking to find Effie's mother watching over them. They briefly talk about their troubles, and then sit at the table to eat breakfast, when a sudden event happens. Jim, Effie's dad, opens the door to find his manager. The two have a chat, and then he reveals that he's banging his wife. Effie leaves the house in obvious distress, with Pandora going with her. When speaking about how she finds that Pandora is useless and they get along because of the fact, they end up spotting Katie and her boyfriend. Pandora tells her that they're going to have a girls-only party and that she's invited. Katie agrees to go, and her boyfriend wants to go too, but it's a girls-only party. Go figure, mate. They arrive at Pandora's house, where they have to act all pure and innocent. Naomi and Emily turn up, and Katie sprinkles a cheeky bit of MDMA into the brownies that they're making. As everybody gets changed, Effie and Pandora's mum tries them. They both trip absolute balls, making Effie's mum a bit less uptight to say the least. As they're getting changed, Cook and JJ end up spying on them. Cook tries to break in, gets stuck in a wardrobe, Emily and Naomi have a heart-to-heart, and they end up kissing, which JJ and Katie end up watching. Effie ends up going to Angela, Pandora's mother's bedroom, and finds Cook there. The two have sex in the wardrobe, to which the backing breaks, which shows a secret room where her and her neighbour have been filming some saucy home movies. Katie's boyfriend then ends up joining the party with his entire football team, which then causes absolute mayhem. JJ is having a panic attack, and then Freddy ends up coming to the party to find him and calm him down. As they're leaving, Effie comes to Freddy, who tells her that she's been a bad friend, especially to Pandora. Cook and Pandora have sex, and then as Pandora tells Effie, Thomas arrives.
Episode 5 overall focuses on Freddy, and is another personal favourite of mine. The episode very much shows the character is the black sheep of his family, and is seen to be a wasted potential. His older sister, who I always thought was the younger sister for some reason, has an ambition to become a star, and has reached the final of a TV talent show to find another member of a girls' pop group. Freddy ultimately despises Karen over this lust, but emotionally is blackmailed to pretend he's okay with his sister and even his father, using the mother's death as a typical talent show sad story. It is also very much shown that Karen is the favourite child to the father, with even at one point Freddy's famous shed being turned into a studio for Karen. Freddy very much realised as well that he is also living in Cook's shadow when it comes to his friendship group and college popularity. This all becomes too much for him, and when Effie turns up to his shed, he doesn't know what to do. There is a clear connection between them, but things start to open up, and well, of course, Cook storms in with the very shy JJ. Before then have a small talk, with then Cook turned around expecting Effie to give him more sexual intercourse, and while Cook then says she will leave if she doesn't tell him what they say, like some type of pack leader. While all of this is happening, Freddy just doesn't do anything while this all happens, and just watches, again living in Cook's shadow. After this, Freddy's day then gets worse when he has a family conversation and Karen makes fun of him, which then makes him lose his temper and weirdly pull her pants down in front of her dad. Eventually, after being torn between his family, friends and heart, Freddy then decides to improve himself and ends up showing up to the competition to support his sister. However, she loses by 15 votes. Freddy, being the better man, makes his father and sister, who are gutted around pre-planned party decorations, a cup of tea. Don't worry, it's British this time. Cook and JJ then visit the family, and well, when the father exits the room, Cook admits he got his pub friends to vote against Karen to get revenge over the shed drama. Freddy then finally stands up to Cook and punches him. However, Cook doesn't get physical for once, and actually admits he loves Freddy, almost crying. He then kisses him and then leaves. As he then does leave, he ends up hitting a full family picture including Freddy's mother at the door. JJ then awkwardly follows. Later, Freddy visits Effie as he has no one to turn to, but she is revealed to be with Cook at her bedroom window, and will ends up with him walking away angrily.
Episode 6 starts off with Naomi waking up next to Emily. She takes off without even telling her, and she avoids her in college. When it's revealed that there's a class election happening for student president, Cook stands up and decides it's his turn to bring some change into the college. Anarchy is his plan, and he puts a wager onto Naomi that if he wins, she has to sleep with him. She's reluctant to run at first, but then she ends up deciding to. She goes home, and again, wakes up next to Emily, takes off yet again, and Naomi then runs into Freddy, who's really pissed off with Cook following the events that took place in the previous episode, dropping the bombshell that he and Cook are no longer friends with each other, as Cook fucks things up for him with Effie, who he loves. Naomi then confides in a psychology teacher who tries it on with her, which results in her leaving, as he'd betrayed her trust. Confused about her feelings with Emily too, she ends up going on a bike ride with her, which results in the two sleeping with each other. The next day, she takes off yet again when it's revealed that when she comes home, that the psychology teacher is with her mum. Yeah. She goes to college, and the results are in. Cook wins the election, and anarchy takes over the entire college. Naomi tries to fulfill her part of the wager, and then says she doesn't wish to sleep with him. Cook understands this, and tells her that it's fine, uncovering a pretty decent side to him, which hasn't really been seen before. Naomi ends up going to Emily's house, where the two end up talking and holding hands for a cat flap, seemingly admitting their feelings for each other. The episode ends there.
Episode 7 overall focuses on JJ. The episode starts with him visiting his psychiatrist, Dr. Felly, about his recent boosts of rage, and he is also confused by his life and friends, but he just gets prescribed with more drugs to calm him down. As he is leaving, he then meets Emily, who came to the clinic to receive counselling. To be more honest, but she was just prescribed with the same pills as him. She then comes out to JJ and he shares with her his dream to become a normal one day, so that he could lose his virginity and reunite with his friends, Freddy and Cook. Later we then see the two arrive at Freddy's house, but they end up walking in on Freddy having intercourse with Katie, and JJ accidentally reveals Emily is a lesbian, which makes Katie shaken up, while JJ then asks Freddy to make up with Cook, but Freddy refuses and tells JJ to choose between them. JJ then returns home and finds his mother Celia asleep, but yet overwhelmed by all of his issues, and he then blames himself for it. He then calls Cook to tell him how he feels, but Cook is too distracted shagging a girl, which JJ assumes is Effie. However, then JJ goes to visit Effie, but it's revealed that she hasn't seen Cook for days, and he then asks her to leave the boys alone, but she refuses, saying she will be friends with him if he admits he loves her. JJ then visits Cook and discovers he actually has been shagging Pandora. However, he ignores this and confronts Cook about ruining his friendship with Freddy. Cook then tells JJ he loves him and takes him to buy drugs. The boys then almost get arrested later, and they end up running away from the police. JJ then pressures Cook into taking his prescription drugs before they go into the club. When they get to the queue, we then see that Effie is telling Naomi she knows about her and Emily's relationship. Naomi then reveals to her that she's not sure about her sexuality and realises that Effie is in love with Freddy, not Cook. Thomas then lets Cook and JJ into the club and also tells Emily is already inside. Cook then gets into a fight on the dance floor and Freddy helps him, and Freddy then finds out that JJ gave Cook his prescription drugs. Cook on these pills then tells the truth, saying Effie loves Freddy and says he loves her, but he knows that, and that's why he's having sex with Pandora. Thomas, who is still going out with Pandora, then hears this and gets angry. JJ then leaves the club and finds Emily crying, who doesn't want to go home to face Katie. JJ then invites her to spend the night with him, and they agree to be friends. Then as they get to his room, she offers him to have sex with her as a one-only charity event, and he agrees to. The night after, JJ's mother then meets Emily and is overjoyed that JJ has made a real friend and believes JJ will be alright after all.
Episode 8 starts off with Effie being seemingly depressed, with her losing her reputation among other things, such as her mother's affair. Even her mother doesn't really care too much about her problems, having only one option but to confide in Freddy. She goes to the shed where he finds Freddy and Katie. They're both in a relationship together. Even though that's the case, Effie is still invited to the party at Gobbler's End, and Freddy says that Cook isn't invited as they're not friends anymore given the circumstances. They drive, and then they meet hunters at the gas station who threaten them and end up scaring them. One even pulls a gun on Freddy. They arrive, and the air is cleared up for the most part, Well, with all of them having fun and chatting. Effie finds some mushrooms and they all end up eating them. Enjoying the vibe and having a laugh, and near the end of the night, they hear noises in the woods. They see a torch, and they think it's the hunters. But it's really Cook, who ends up ruining the party. He tells Thomas that he slept with Pandora, and that Effie really loves Freddy. Katie runs off, Effie follows, and the two get into a fight, with Katie provoking Effie as she's having a bad trip. She pins Effie to the ground, which results in Effie hitting her over the head with a rock in self-defense. Effie returns to the makeshift campsite and sleeps with Freddy. Not knowing where Katie went, they call a search party and she is found the next day, where Freddy tells her over the phone. Effie attempts to visit Katie, but Freddy and the others tell her to leave. The episode ends with Effie waking up in Cook's stolen car.
Episode 9 focuses on the twins. It starts off with Emily disguised as Katie when she arrives at college to pretend that her twin is returning to school with 9 stitches in the head after being hit by the rock by Effie, who has also disappeared. Meanwhile, the real Kate is actually at home, miserable over the breakup between her and Freddy, due to him only dating her despite Effie, who is his real love. Katie then also starts to realise that her sister Emily is a lesbian. Back at college, after Emily takes the exam for Katie, Naomi uncovers the disguise privately, and Emily then tells her that her dream is to spend the summer alone in Cyprus. Emily also mentions that if she did do it, she would also miss Naomi, however. They then kiss and run to Naomi's house to have sex, after Emily then asks Naomi to the college ball, but Naomi then refuses, from still being in the closet, which leaves Emily heartbroken. As Emily then leaves the house, she then bumps into the lovely Thomas, who offers her his shoes and jacket, and well, Emily then tells him she is gay, and he simply doesn't care. Thomas then tries to confront her, but he also reveals he still doesn't believe in love due to Pandora. When Emily returns to home, she finally lets out the big bomb that she is gay and has sex with a girl named Naomi to her family. However, being a dick, the father Rob dismisses it as a joke, and her mother Jenna just goes speechless. Katie then once again denies it, which results in an argument between the twins and Katie crying. The next morning, Naomi arrives at the Fitch's house, but the mother answers the door. Jenna then confronts Naomi, saying Emily is not gay and warns her to stay away. Naomi here then denies her own sexuality once again and then leaves. After all this, the twins then wake up and make up from their all made up language. Yeah, they went with that trope. While this happens, the twins also agree to go to the ball together. They then go to the store to get gowns and also bump into Pandora on the streets. Pandora lets the girls know that Thomas, our king, is still standing his ground. Finally, as they are in the dressing rooms, they then bump into Freddy and JJ. JJ then stupidly lets Emily know that he has told Freddy about having sex with her, and this ends up with Katie knowing. Katie guilts Freddy into going into the ball with her, and makes JJ go with Emily because of this. Katie then is furious with Emily for having sex with JJ, and then uses this to say she's not gay, which is just stupid. Katie then calls Naomi on Emily's phone to meet her, and well they do, and she lets Naomi know about JJ and Emily getting with each other, letting her know not to go to the ball. Like, seriously, what a fucking bitch. Then cutting to the twins arriving at the ball with the boys. Naomi then arrives and announces to Emily she knows about the fling, and well, she just walks into the ball. Emily is upset and then leaves from this. Katie then starts a fight with Naomi for ruining her precious night. All this then leads into Emily fighting Katie, and well, they end up crashing into the ball. Emily, as being the better sister, pins Katie and almost punches her, but as she again is the better the better twin, lets Katie stand up and shouts to everyone that she was the one that wanted Naomi ever since she was a kid. Katie then finally accepts her sexuality and Naomi is no longer ashamed of their relationship. The couple then leave holding hands. Pandora then also apologises to Thomas and he accepts by introducing himself again.
Episode 10 starts off when Effie and Cook arrive in the middle of nowhere. That middle of nowhere happens to be the town in which Cook's dad lives. He ends up going to his house and is welcomed with seemingly open arms. The three of them end up going to the pub and having a few drinks together. Effie's mother, Anthea, ends up speaking to JJ about Effie. Later that night, Cook sees Effie dancing with another guy and gets into a fight. He gets beaten up and then the next day starts. Effie makes a call to Freddy and confesses her feelings towards him. She then tells him where they are, and Freddy and JJ come to the town. A race is going on. Whoever wins ends up together with Effie, and if Cook loses, his dad's boat gets repossessed. If Cook wins, his dad's bar tab gets cleared. JG ends up winning, then Freddy stages a bit of an intervention to get the answer to who Effie loves out of her. When it seems as if Effie is going to choose Freddy, Cook ends up leaving. The two end up sleeping together, and the next day, Cook goes to his dad, telling him that they can leave on this boat. His dad pulls out a flare and holds it to Cook's face, as he has the keys. Freddy hits him over the head, rendering him unconscious. Freddy asks Cook if it's okay for him to be with Effie, and Cook says that it's not okay with him as he still loves her. Cook's dad wakes up and exclaims that he's Cook. Cook gets angry and throws him off the boat, with the season ending there.
So that has been season 3, but don't worry, we still have more to cover. So come back next week for more. And well, this being said, thank you to Shadow VA for being in the video. The link to his channel is in the description below. And he'll be back next week with part 2 of Gen 2 of Skins. Thank you all for watching as always. I have been Another Geek 123. Thank you so much for living the nostalgia, and we'll see y'all later, and peace. Have a good one.